Welcome. I'm joining you on the public podcast this week, and I just want to start with an uncomfortable truth. That's literally why I brought you on. So most transformational stuff doesn't work. We know that. Not because it's wrong, but because it was designed for a moment and moments end. To your home, to your actual life, and your actual brain, and your actual Tuesday. And then the Tuesday doesn't know you how to break through.
No, the Tuesday is the test. The Tuesday's the test. The retreat or whatever you were doing was kind of the prep.
Exactly. And no one tells you that.
Nope.
So people come out of a challenge or a seminar or a retreat and they're charged, right? Neurons are firing, identity shifting, all of it for real. And then they hit the Tuesday. I feel like failures when the old version keeps creeping back. And they're not failures. They just didn't have anything to hold the charge.
That's today's episode, right?
You're listening to Too Late My Ass, the podcast that exists because someone had to say it out loud. I'm Fay Chapel, and this show is for anyone who's been quietly wondering if they missed their window. Spoiler, you didn't. Your brain is still neuroplastic, your identity is still negotiable, and your second act, it's not a consolation prize. It's the whole damn point. Let's get into it.
So again, welcome to Too Late My Ass. I'm Fay Chapel. This is Stacy Maynard, my co-founder and my CEO, the person who built the infrastructure behind everything that this brand produces. She's also the woman who has heard me say, we need to fix this. 5,000 times. Yeah, at least. So today, we're really going to do something we haven't done on the main show. We're going to sit down together to talk about the thing that we've been driving for the past 3 months or so. That's the 21-day Defiant Second Act Challenge. It starts on April the 6th. That's 13 days away, roughly.
Sure. That sounds right.
And the Inner Circle, our monthly membership, it opens April 1st, and it's only 8 days away.
No pressure.
No pressure. Zero pressure. Well, we wanted to have the honest conversation before both of us open things up, right? Not the sales version, the real one. Why we built both, what we watched break before we built them, what the science actually says about what transformation sticks and doesn't. So that's what this is about. Okay. So,
all right, let's go.
Let's start with the neuroscience. Let me give you the neuroscience first so the rest of the conversation makes a little more sense. Your brain has really a strong preference for baseline, right? For normal, for the state it knows best. So neuroscience call it homeostasis. But forget that word. Just think of it as your brain's version of what we do around here.
Yep.
This is what we do around here.
Right?
So when you have generally a transformative experience, a retreat, a challenge, a powerful conversation, your brain does change. The neuroscience is real. New neural connections form. Your default network gets disrupted. Your self-story shifts. That's not just feelings. That's measurable biological change. But here's what the brain does next. It tries to restore the baseline.
What are we doing here?
Not out of spite. It's of efficiency, really. Change is metabolically, I guess you could say, expensive because the brain wants to run the cheapest, most familiar version of you possible.
Yeah.
That's kind of the truth of everything, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So if you go home to the same environment, the same people, the same rhythms, the brain gets to reset to the old self. The old cues are everywhere. The old identity is being mirrored back to you by everyone who knew you before the transformation. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, without any structural intervention or anything, most of that whole change starts to reverse.
And it's why that 2 or 3 week window is exactly why we made the challenge 21 days.
Yeah, not coincidence, right?
Not at all.
The challenge is designed to push you through that whole regression window, right? There's no perfect number, but 21 days of consistent behavioral input when the brain is trying to return to baseline, well, that's going to help you. You're essentially outrunning that homeostatic pull, right? It's outrunning you. And here's what day 22 looks like if there's nothing after it. Right. So I want to come at it from an operationals angle, right? Because I'm the CEO.
because I get to.
Yeah.
But I also think it's useful.
Yeah.
Right. So from where I sit, building the infrastructure, watching the data, there are basically 3 things that predict whether someone's going to change or someone's change is going to stick after a transformational event.
Okay.
I've watched this long enough to call them patterns.
Yep.
I'm not going to call them systems because she makes fun of it, but that's okay.
Stacy has a system.
So basically, whether they have a community, not just a group they're in, but a true community of people who know the new version of them and expect the new version of them to show up.
Yep.
The people who have that, their biological change holds. The people who don't, they return to the people who knew them before, and those people mirror back the old version. Game over.
Yeah, the brain really updates its self-story, partly through that whole social reflection, right? So if everyone around you is seeing the old you, then the brain gets confirmation that the old you is the real you, right?
And guess what? It's not. So whether they're having a recurring practice, not just a daily journaling habit or morning routine, I mean structured weekly practice that keeps the identity work active, right? The research on habit formation is very clear. One-off events don't form habits. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Repetition over time does. So you need something to come back to. You need something that comes around every week that says, you still here?
Yeah.
You're good?
Agree with that.
And then whether you have an implementation structure, right? This one is what gets overlooked the most. People come out of a transformation with insight and energy and motivation, and they have no idea what to do with it on a practical level. This is where basically the identity shows up in their actual life.
Right.
What changes in their LinkedIn, their calendar, their conversations, their body of work, right? Without that implementation structure, the insights basically just fade and it becomes a nice memory of something you attended one time and, whatever, instead of a life change.
Yeah, it's kind of what you described is kind of like the inner circle.
Yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to build to be.
Right. So the inner circle is essentially that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so let's just say it out loud because it's the first time we're doing it properly on the main stage. So on April 1st, we open the Too Late My Ass Inner Circle.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is what it is. It's a monthly membership, 4 things every month, built specifically around the 3 things Stacy just named: community, recurring practice, and implementation. So every month you get a reinvention masterclass. So it's really one deep topic, neuroscience-backed, identity-focused, an hour of science and real talk about whatever is most in the way of your second act. Let's say that. You're going to get an identity challenge. So 5 to 7 days of behavioral action, because listening to me really isn't change.
But you have to do something.
Do something is change. There's a real cool implementation lab that's run by Stacy, and you walk in with something on your list, right? And you walk out, haven't done it
or on my list.
No, it's not an identity. It's not an idea session. It's an actual execution session. So, she will teach you exactly how to update your LinkedIn profile, right? Or how to use AI for a specific reason. And then we also have what we call the veto workshop, which are scripts for conversations that keep calling you back to who you used to be. And so that language you need to hold the new identity when the old one kind of pushes back.
Exactly. And basically it's designed so that every single month you're doing the identity work, you're taking action, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
You're building a skill, not just inspired, actually moving.
Yeah. And the founding rate, I'm going to say this on the podcast because I want people to understand it's a founding rate. So the founding rate is $49 a month. And we set that deliberately, right? Close enough that the decision is about you, not the money.
And it opens April 1st.
Yeah.
Not April Fool's Day.
No.
It is real.
Yeah.
8 days. So if you're listening to this and the challenge, when does it start? April 6th?
Yeah.
I built it. I don't even know the date. It starts on April 6th. And it's the thing you're signing up for. So go to the Inner Circle page and look at what happens after day 21.
Yeah. Because the challenge is the beginning, right? And the inner circle is what you build on top of the beginning, for lack of a better phrase. So I'm going to say something that's maybe uncomfortable before we close, right? Most people in midlife reinvention will not convert.
True.
Not because they can't, but the neuroscience says they can, clearly, but because they will not invest in the structural support that keeps the conversion going. So they'll listen to the podcast,
Yeah.
They might do the challenge, and then they'll return to the environment that doesn't really reflect that new version of them. Without a community that holds that new identity, without a weekly practice that keeps that neural update active, they'll always wonder why 6 months later they just feel exactly the same as they did. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I watched it happen for 6 years before we even built this. I watched really brilliant, capable adults in their 40s and 50s and 60s do genuine inner work and then return to their lives because they had no place for the new person that they were becoming. That work is not the hard part. The structure is the hard part.
And we built the structure.
That's right.
And that's what April 1st is.
Yeah. So it opens in 8 days from now if you're listening on the day that we launch the podcast. And I want you to join that challenge on April 6th, right? And join the inner circle if you want to on April 1st, or do both. That's what I'd recommend, and you'll understand why when we start getting going.
Absolutely.
So the links for both are in the description.
Yep.
Too Late My Ass /Inner Circle, Too Late My Ass /21 Day Second Act Challenge.
Yep.
The Sunday morning ritual, don't forget, this is something that really pushes everything you learn in, and it is connected with everything we do. So we'll see you in 8 days when the door opens.
All right. We'll see you then.
And that's a wrap on this one. If something landed for you today, sit with it. That's your nervous system updating its software. Let it run. And if you want to get deeper, the Long Game is our daily ritual app. 15 minutes a day built around the move, mind, and meaning framework. It's the daily practice behind everything we talk about on this show. And you can find it at tlmalonggame.com. And if you're ready to be in the room, the inner circle is where we do the real work. Monthly masterclasses, identity challenges, and a community of people who are done playing small. Join us at toolatemayass.com/inner circle. Until next week, stay rebellious. I'll see you then.